Hello, this is Angel. I am back. I am making a video. I'm super excited about this video. This is probably my favorite topic right now, and so I thought I would share it with you guys. This video is going to be my top 10 mind-blowing facts about mushrooms. And be sure to stay and watch till the end because the last one is my big moment. So you definitely want to see that. And the reason this is going to be a little different than my normal, herb videos. I'm not going to go into different uses and nutrition and things like that. I think a lot of these facts that I've learned are not common knowledge, and I would love to help just kind of spread that around a little bit. I think it's important that we know as much as we can. So that's kind of my point in this whole thing. You definitely want to be sure to see that. First of all, the first number one mind-blowing fact that I have learned about mushrooms is let me start off with this little story. When my youngest son was heading off to college this summer, I messaged him and I told him this quote from a book that I read a long time ago, The Teachings of Don Juan by Carlos Castaneda. And this quote said, "A man goes to knowledge as he goes to war, wide awake, with respect, and with absolute assurance. Going to knowledge or going to war in any other manner is a mistake, and you will live to regret it." My number one mind-blowing fact about mushrooms is that I don't think I've ever went through a process of learning about anything that held that quote more true. When it comes to mushrooms, you can't cut corners. You can't take a shortcut. You are either in the pool or you're out of the pool. It's scientific. It's a little bit intimidating, but don't let that stop you because it's worth it. It's worth the attention. It's worth the focus on detail. I watch a YouTuber, the Herbal Jedi, and he said something that it made me chuckle because it's true. And that is, when it comes to mushrooms, you want to be for sure. So especially if you're going to be consuming these mushrooms in any way for, food or for medicine. So you want to be for sure that's the right mushroom that you think it is. For sure, that's definitely the right mushroom. For sure. I mean, for sure, there's not a doubt in your mind that this mushroom is the mushroom that you think it is. So that to me is really amazing because it's like mushrooms just hold this amount of respect, and that's because they can feed you, they can heal you, they can have your mind think in different ways, they can kill you. So you've got to know what you're dealing with, what you are thinking, or what you think it is, it is when it comes to mushrooms. And that to me is my first mind-blowing mushroom fact. My number two mushroom mind-blowing fact is probably the first mind-blowing fact that I really learned. When I started really researching mushrooms, I learned this, and it started because I had read an article about plants being in the same family would not fight for food or light from each other, but they would actually help each other, whereas if those plants were next to a same species as them that was not family, they would fight for nutrients and they would fight for light. And so I did a little more research on that, and that's when I learned about mycelium. And now mycelium is, I guess, what we would, like in a broad term, would consider the root system of the mushroom. But when we're talking about mushrooms, and I'm kind of using them in a generic term in this video because a lot of this information has to do with the fungi family, fungi family, fungi family.
Fungi. Fungi.
However you want to say it, tomato, tomato. A lot of my information has to do with that family and not necessarily mushrooms, because when we think of mushrooms, this is a cap with a stem, and a lot of times under here you will see gills. That's where the spores are. And the fact is this right here is not the plant. The mycelium that is underground, the root structure of this is the plant per se. This is the fruit, the seed-bearing fruit of the plant. So if you were to think in terms of a tomato plant, for instance, this would be the tomato, and the mycelium underground would be the plant. Now, the amazing thing about mycelium, and its role in this, what I was telling you about a second ago, is that mycelium goes out under the ground, and all the plants around it connect their roots to the mycelium. Through the mycelium is how the plants are able to communicate to each other. If you tests have been done where they cut off the plants but not the root systems, they were able to communicate. They were done where the root systems were not connected but the plants were, they were not able to communicate. So we know that the plants communicate through the root system of the mycelium, through the mycelium connection that they have. And it's kind of a symbiotic relationship. The mycelium gives them nutrients it doesn't need, so the plants give the mycelium the sugars they don't need. And it's symbiotic, but also at the same time, that mycelium network that all these plants are connected to becomes kind of an information highway for all of these plants, where they communicate to and from each other. And some of the things that they communicate about is if you have a plant that's being affected by an insect or a disease, then it would communicate to other like plants that are connected up to the mycelium network, hey, I've got this disease, or this insect is attacking me, beware, it might be coming your way. So those other plants will raise up defenses, either oils to help prevent that insect from being so attracted to it, or start boosting up its immune system so that it doesn't become so affected by a disease. And so that is a major way the plants communicate through the mycelium. And if this interests you in any way, shape, or form, I highly recommend a quick Google search on the Wood Wide Web, where you can learn all kinds of information about it, and it's super interesting, and I hope you do, and I hope you have a really great time doing it. So that was my number 2 mushroom fact that is absolutely mind-blowing to me. Number 3 mushroom fact, and I've got notes over here to kind of keep me on track, is that in a 2017 thing that was issued, it said that scientists estimate that there are 2.2 to 3.8 million different species in the fungi family. And out of those species, there are 75 species of mushrooms that glow in the dark. And to me, I just think about these, this fungi family, and I think about that's a lot. 3.8 million, that's a lot. And the really crazy thing is that we have recently really just started to really be studying the fungi family, and we are learning it exists in water, it exists inside our bodies. Fungal spores are around us all the time. We breathe them in with every breath we inhale. We breathe, we eat them every food we eat. They're around us constantly. And so we're learning more and more about this. So it is likely that 3.8 million is a low number. Number 4, mind-blowing mushroom fact, is that mushrooms might be able to help save the bees. And the reason why I said that is because there's some research that I found when I was looking around, learning about, you know, the fungi family, mushrooms, that I learned that 100% of our bees on this planet have a disease called a deformed wing disease. 100%. There are a lot of other diseases that are affecting our bees, and we are losing our bees, and we all know this, we've all heard this, but I mean, we don't know exactly what it is, and I'm sure these diseases are contributing to that, and I'm sure environmental issues are contributing to that, and I'm sure lack of native places to live are contributing to that. So there's, you know, I think they just have a lot of things piled against them, and it's probably a combination of all these things that are, you know, killing the bees. But the good news about the mushrooms and the bees is they have learned that if you take some of the mushrooms that normally grow native to where bees would naturally build a hive, that those mushrooms can help reduce the amount of these diseases in the bees. It doesn't cure them of these diseases. They still maintain these diseases in their body, but they're just brought down drastically from the consumption of these mushrooms. And these mushrooms were put into the water, and that was given to bees, and they were tested before, they were tested after, and there was a drop in these diseases. So to me, that is really amazing, and it's amazing to know that nature is so pure and so perfect that the bees knew that this was their medicine. I think it's really wonderful, and you know, none of us want to be without the bees. Our quality of life would be drastically different if we didn't have the bees in our world. So that is my number 4 mind-blowing fact about mushrooms. Now for number 5. Number 5, they had taken a bunch of piles of mulch and they had contaminated them, I believe with petroleum-based products. And they had tried on multiple different piles of mulch that were contaminated to clean up that contamination with different things. And one of the things they tried using was mycelium. And the mycelium was applied to this mulch pile, and with the mycelium it brought the insects, and with the insects brought the birds, and with the birds brought the seeds, and the mycelium was cleaning the petroleum products out of the mulch and was also bringing life to this mulch. So out of all these piles of mulch and all these different ways that we were trying to solve this problem of decontamination, the mycelium was the one that cleaned up the mess and brought life back to that pile of mulch. And that is amazing. And they've even learned that certain mushrooms can help clean nuclear waste, and that they'll grow in radioactive areas, and they pull that radioactiveness out of the soil, and the mushrooms are contaminated, and you would not want to eat those mushrooms or consume those mushrooms or, you know, anything with those mushrooms, but they are cleansing the earth. They made a mess, and the mushrooms know how to clean it up, and that is just awesome. That is so wonderful and amazing. All right, my number 6 mind-blowing mushroom fact is that certain types of mushrooms have been found to help with cancer. They have found that some types of mushrooms can help decrease some tumors in certain cancers. They have found certain mushrooms have been able to help keep tumors from growing larger in other types of cancers. And we are really just scratching the surface on what we are learning about. They seem to be a strong medicine. And I think that this might be a good track that we are on in the studying and research of mushrooms as far as healing and preventing and maintaining life around cancer. The National Cancer Institute has articles on its webpage about mushrooms. I don't personally know anybody that has not been affected by cancer in some way, shape, or form. It's very prolific. It's epidemic scale to me, it seems like. And I think that this brings new hope, and I hope it brings new research and funding, and I hope we can learn more about this. And so then my 7th mind-blowing mushroom fact is that mushrooms have their own kingdom. We have the plant kingdom, we have the animal kingdom, and mushrooms don't fit into either one of those. So in learning about mushrooms and studying about mushrooms, they have deemed it necessary that the fungi family needs its very own kingdom. I think that's really amazing. That shows again how much respect and understanding mushrooms kind of demand from us. And so now I'm going to get into my number 8 mind-blowing mushroom fact. And that is that mushrooms have a kind of intelligence in them. And I see it through all of these different mind-blowing mushroom facts that I've gone over. This intelligence that just, they know what's going on in this world, and they know the problems that the earth has and that the animals and the plants have on this earth, and they're fixers. And I believe it's in the Amazon, a certain type of mushroom that grows, and it only affects very prolific insects, things that the population could get out of hand very easily if they didn't have something to keep them in balance and check. And what this mushroom spore does, it'll land on, let's say, an ant, because ants are one of the insects that it affects, and it'll land on this ant, and it tells this ant's brain, you need to climb this tree a certain distance. So the ant will climb the tree a certain distance, and it tells this ant that through its brain, you need to climb out onto a branch a certain distance. So it'll climb out onto this branch a certain distance. And then it tells this ant, you need to bite down really hard so a strong wind isn't going to blow you away. Now this ant can't say no. This is like a zombie ant now. Once that mushroom spore affects that ant, the ant has no control over its actions. That mushroom spore is controlling this ant. So the ant will bite down really hard, and then the ant dies. And the mushroom grows out of the ant's head, and it spreads out its cap, and it releases its spores because it's in the perfect place where it can release the most amount of spores for it to be done all over again with other ants and keep that population control of these ants. And it also affects wasps, and I believe there's other things, but I don't know right now. So I know for sure the wasps and the ants, and it turns them into zombies. It makes them do this to help itself reproduce, to help keep that population in check. And it only does it to insects that are very prolific. So it understands, it has kind of a knowledge. Now we're gonna get into number 9 and number 10. These are information that I found that are scientifically based, and I think that science is a very important thing in our world. And going on to my number 9 mind-blowing mushroom fact is that mushrooms, I've already explained that mushrooms have their own kingdom. There's plants, there's animals, there's fungi, whatever you want to call it. So they've got their own kingdom. Now, if mushrooms were going to be more like either one of those kingdoms, they would be more like the animal kingdom. We share 30% of the same DNA that mushrooms share, that mushrooms have. We are more, the animal kingdom is more like mushrooms than mushrooms are like plants. Mushrooms breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. When I am studying mushrooms, it makes me have blurred lines between science and science fiction, because these are things that I would have thought 10, 15 years ago that they had to be science fiction. I would never ever think that these were scientific studies, like true science, that this was really going on in our planet, in our world, and I just am so excited by it. And can you tell I'm nerding out just a little bit? Just a little bit. Okay. It makes me blush. All right. So now that I've gotten into that, number 10, mind-blowing mushroom fact. And this one, okay, so scientists believe, and they are studying and researching, that there are mushroom spores that can withstand extreme heat, extreme cold, kind of a hibernative state for a long period of time. Now you might be thinking, what's so mind-blowing about that? Well, these scientists theorize that it is a possibility that life came to this planet on an asteroid as mushroom spores, because our oldest multi-cell organism that scientists have found was in Africa, and they believe that this specimen is 2.5 billion years old. That is the oldest multi-cell life form that we have evidence of being on this planet, and it's a mushroom. And that is so beautiful. And I'm gonna leave that for you to ponder. It's a big one. It's a big one to wrap your head around and to think about. And I hope that my little Hickabilly ways have explained this in a scientifically appropriate manner and in a layman's understanding manner. And I hope that you all understood what I was saying and that I gave it justice. And if you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments or more to share, please comment down in the section below. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more of my videos, you can subscribe. If you want to be notified whenever I upload a video, you can ring the bell and that'll notify you as soon as I upload any videos. Also, we are on Facebook and on Instagram. I just want to say I love you guys as guts. I hope you all have a very wonderful day. Bye.